Families of victims from South Africa's apartheid era are raising serious concerns after President Cyril Ramaphosa appeared to support legal arguments that could potentially collapse a commission investigating long-delayed Justice for Truth and Reconciliation Commission cases. The controversy centers on the judicial inquiry led by retired Constitutional Court Judge Sisi Kampepe, a commission established to examine allegations that investigations into apartheid-era crimes were deliberately blocked or delayed. For families who have waited decades for answers, the latest developments have sparked fears that the pursuit of justice could once again be derailed. Background: the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. After the end of apartheid in 1994, South Africa established the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, widely known as the TRC. The commission aimed to uncover human rights violations committed during apartheid while offering conditional amnesty to perpetrators who fully disclosed their crimes. The TRC investigated thousands of cases and recommended that hundreds of unresolved crimes be prosecuted. However, many of those cases were never pursued. Families of victims have long argued that political interference may have prevented investigations from moving forward. These concerns eventually led to the creation of the TRC Cases Inquiry, also known as the Kampepe Commission. President Ramaphosa established the inquiry in May 2025 to determine whether attempts were made to halt the investigation or prosecution of apartheid-era crimes. What the Kampepe Commission is investigating. The inquiry is tasked with examining whether political pressure or institutional decisions delayed justice for victims. Judge Kampepe leads the commission, assisted by retired Northern Cape Judge President Frans Diale Kihome and senior advocate Andrea Gabriel. The commission began hearings in 2025 and is expected to complete its investigation and submit a final report by 31 July 2026 after an extension granted by the presidency. The goal is to determine why some apartheid-era crimes referred by the TRC were never prosecuted. For many families, this inquiry represents one of the last opportunities to uncover the truth. The legal dispute. The current controversy emerged after former Presidents Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma called for Judge Kampepe to step aside from leading the commission. Their legal teams argued that her past roles, including serving as a TRC commissioner and as Deputy National Director of Public Prosecutions, could create a perception of bias. The challenge seeks to review the legitimacy of her appointment. Judge Kampepe has previously dismissed requests for her recusal, stating that the application was filed too late and lacked sufficient justification. Despite the legal battle, the commission has continued with scheduled hearings unless a court orders otherwise. Families speak out. Representatives of families linked to unresolved TRC cases say they are deeply troubled by the president's legal stance. Speaking on behalf of the families, Thembi Simelane argued that the president's legal submissions appeared to support arguments that could effectively collapse the inquiry. According to the families, this raises serious concerns about the government's commitment to accountability. They also pointed to the financial and emotional costs already invested in the process. The inquiry has reportedly cost around R55 million so far, and critics say the total cost could exceed R100 million if legal battles continue. For victims' relatives, the bigger issue is not the cost, but the risk that the truth about unresolved apartheid-era crimes may never fully emerge. Why these cases matter. Many of the crimes under investigation involve political killings, disappearances, and torture during apartheid. When the TRC completed its work, it referred numerous cases to prosecutors for further investigation. But decades later, many of those cases remain unresolved. Human rights organizations say this represents one of the most significant unfinished chapters of South Africa's democratic transition. Families of victims argue that justice delayed for decades is justice denied. Expert perspective. Legal analysts say the case reflects broader tensions between historical accountability and political sensitivity. The inquiry itself is unusual because it does not prosecute crimes directly. Instead, it investigates whether state institutions, including the government and the National Prosecution Authority, failed to act on TRC recommendations. If the commission completes its work, it could reveal how political decisions influenced the pursuit of justice in the post-apartheid era. What happens next? The future of the Kampepe Commission may now depend on court rulings related to the recusal challenge. If the legal challenge succeeds, the commission could face major delays or even collapse entirely. If it fails, hearings will continue as planned, with the commission expected to conclude its investigation in 2026. For families of victims, the outcome will determine whether long-awaited answers finally emerge. More than 30 years after the end of apartheid, South Africa is still grappling with unresolved questions about justice and accountability. The controversy surrounding the TRC case's inquiry highlights how deeply the past continues to shape the present. For many families, the hope is simple, that the truth will finally be revealed and that the promises made during South Africa's democratic transition will be honored. Whether the Kampepe Commission succeeds or collapses may determine whether that hope becomes reality.